Okay, on one side we have the Prime, on the other side we have the Homie. What are the key differences between the two of them? The obvious is the mid-drive on the Prime and the hub drive on the Homie. Suspension on the Homie, full suspension, no suspension on my bike. You can get the front fork suspension if you like as an option. I chose not to have it. On my Homie I have an optional front drive as well. It doesn't come, it's got nothing to do with Nireeka, it's just something that I put on my bike. Power wise, this one's got a 1000 watt motor, this one's got a 500 watt motor. Chalk and cheese between the two bikes as far as grip, agility, and just all-round riding. They ride completely different. The Homie is a lot more agile, going through dirt tracks. It is easy to manoeuvre. The Prime is just a little bit harder, but when I say harder, it's actually different. Not actually harder, it's different. The way that I'm seeing the two bikes together, hey Oliver, meet Oliver, is that this one is like a Mack truck, whereas this one here is more like a Ferrari in the sense of going through mountain bike tracks. You go nice and slow with this one. It'll go through anything, like rocks, trees. I rode it yesterday down a track. It was one of the most roughest tracks I've been on. The tyres do cushion a lot of the suspension into the bike, which is really, really good. I should say that cushion the ride. I'm just going to ride up on my bike. It's raining at the moment. It's very light at the moment, so I thought I'd take the opportunity and quickly videotape this for you. Let's see how we go. It goes really well. Probably about a 17% gradient on that hill there. No problems at all. Being a fat bike, when you're turning, it tends to pull either to the left or to the right when you're turning, depending which way you're turning. I've read up on that, and it's quite common. It's because they've got such big tyres on them. However, when you ride through mud on the Prime, it just sits on top of it as opposed to digging into it like the Homie does. The Homie's got the narrower tyres and it digs into the ground, whereas the Prime just sits on it and it really does grip. I was asked which bike would I choose. Well, as a bike that has less components on it as far as no suspension, the Prime is a very easy bike to set up and to ride. There's not much you really need to take care of. You don't have to worry about how much air pressure you have in suspension or anything like that. You just hop on it and you ride it. The Prime has a few more components to it, and it's also, in my case, being one of the first ones out, had minor issues. I've overcome the issues, but the fact that Nireeka have developed this bike after this one, learning from the mistakes they made on the Homie, I can really see the difference between the two bikes as far as rideability, in the sense that this one here feels more secure, less things to go wrong with it. I don't like the thumb throttle on the Prime. It's very difficult to set it to a speed. I just wish maybe it had a dial instead, if that's the case. You set it to a speed and just let it take you somewhere. As far as the Home is concerned, it is one of those bikes where I have taken it a lot of places, and it's a great bike for the road. So if I want speed as far as commuting, I would choose the Homie, because on tarmac it would be a much faster bike and more convenient bike to ride. Whereas this one here, got big fat tyres. Although it's faster, it's not built for speed. the tyres on it are not built for speed. They're built for going over obstacles, riding the bike on sand or mud or dirt tracks. That's what these tyres are built for on this bike. So there's no real better bike in a sense. I guess it depends on what you want to use the bike for, when how good you are with maintaining your bikes and doing stuff to them. This one here, the tyres can be pumped up fairly hard, and the fact that it's got the suspension on it, it really makes a difference. This one here, if you pump up the tyres to 30 psi, it would be bloody really rough. And then actually I had them pumped up to 20 yesterday, and I thought it was too much. I actually got the front one at 5 psi and the rear one at 10 psi, and I found that to be much better on the dirt road. However, it's not practical to ride this on a tarmac. It's just not practical. You need the air in there, otherwise you're just going to be dragging. Whereas the Homie, on the other hand, you can just leave the tyres as they are and adjust your suspension to suit. I just, love this bike. It's in a sense where I can take it anywhere. But after riding this one yesterday on the track, this one here is a goer. It really is. It grips differently. This one here, you get a little bit more sliding on the tracks. If you hit a rock or anything like that, you're more likely to bounce or drift to one side on this bike than you are with that one. This one here, because of the wide tyres, it just hugs the ground and it grips. So even on steep hills, on this one here, the rear wheel will spin slightly, but it'll still take me up the hill. Whereas this one here, the rear wheel, once it starts spinning, that's it, I can't go anywhere. Thankfully, I do have a front drive and it helps me. So with the front drive, it makes a huge difference. Anyway, I don't know if I've answered all your questions, everyone, but whichever bike you choose, it really comes down to your rideability and where you're going to ride it. There's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of what you prefer.